Now this one today, guys, was wild. My client actually went through a situation where he was growing his hair out, but he decided to use some oils, some rosemary oil, some peppermint oil, just all sorts of, the tea tree too. But he didn't dilute it properly. So this is hopefully a lesson to anybody. Yeah, you can learn from us, our situation here. If you want to mess with oils and stuff like that, please do your research and learn how to properly dilute them, because it literally burned his scalp. And today we needed to fade them up. We needed to go ahead and try to reduce the intensity of these marks, of these scars. And man, it was definitely, a learning experience for both of us. But look, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give him a nice high fade. So the cool thing about this video too is I had somebody tag me on my TikTok in a no guard challenge, and it had been quite some time since I went in and did a fade with no guard, using a lot of freehanding techniques. So that's actually what I'm gonna bring you guys today. I wanted to show you guys how this came together. We're gonna go ahead and give him a nice tight bald fade high, but we're not gonna go too high. I still wanna keep it, I wanna find a good balance in masking his bald spots from the burn and still make it look like a haircut that complements the shape of his head. Because obviously, like, we could probably go as high as a mohawk bald fade, right? And just for the sake of not seeing any of those spots on the side, but we're gonna try to keep a nice balance today. So definitely lock in. We're gonna use the new Stylecraft Rebel combo. They're dropping this month, actually. They're dropping the combo of the clipper and of the trimmer. So if you guys want to try these, you can definitely save a good bit of money using the discount code Tito Cuts. And let's go ahead and rock with this cut. The first step that I did with this cut is I started all the way closed with the Rebel. I just wanted to make sure that I set that initial line going through all those bald spots, and then after I followed that, because I wanted to make sure that I set the barrier, like, hey, this is the point of the fade where I need it to fade down into nothing. After that, I followed up with my next panel with the clipper all the way open, and I gave myself a really good amount of space to fade. I wanted to give myself at least an inch or so, just so that way I could spread that blend and kind of control the blend, right? It's going to be a little tricky while we're working through these spots here, just to kind of keep everything blended, everything meshed together. But yeah, at this point now we're doing a good bit of lever play. I'm working with the clipper halfway closed, all the way closed, just trying to blend everything together. It can be really tricky because when you're cutting around burn marks like these, there literally are no hairs growing in that area. So of course they are still going to be visible, but again, the point of this is just to make it as best as possible. And the other thing is, normally I would go through with some enhancements, right? We could use some hair fibers, we can use some no drip, but my client very specifically requests that we keep this haircut 100% natural. So that's another added challenge that we have on this haircut. But let's go ahead and keep rocking with this and blending out this line that we just put in. So at this point, I'm pretty happy with how that initial panel blend is looking. What we need to do now is start working our way into the bulk. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna close my clipper lever, and we are going to very softly and very carefully use straight up and down motions. I'm gonna try to catch the length as best I can, right there where my clipper open was. Now, it's not gonna be perfect. We're still gonna have to do a little bit blending work in between there, but I want to get as close as I can to that length that was left with the clipper open and elevate the clipper straight up. I'm using straight up and down motions because I want to keep a nice natural shape that follows the flow of his head shape. So I'm going to use this all the way around, and then after that we're going to come back around and I'm going to show you guys how I would approach blending from this freehand shape to the tight bald fade that's on the side. So at this point now, the shape is established and the very bottom of the blend is complete. Now we have to try to find what is the best way to merge these two levels together. So what I ended up starting off with is I opened up the lever on the Rebel clipper, and I just pretty much was doing like the reverse motion. Instead of going closed straight up creating the shape, I'm like, you know what if I went downwards with the grain but with the lever open, so that way I could still have a nice soft cut where I didn't have to accidentally punch in any lines that were too harsh. So I started to do that motion and then use a little bit of corner motion with the clipper blade to work my way up a little bit higher into this. When it comes to going up against the grain as well, when you're shaping it up, it's really just a matter of cutting with the heel of the blade instead of the very tip of the blade, if that makes sense. You'll see when I go up to do some sculpting motions with this, I try not to dig in too deep with the very front tip of the blade where it's laid super flat against the head. Sometimes it helps just to lean the blade back a little bit to where the heel of the blade is what's flat on their head. And that is what's going to give you the safety net. So that way you can do all these motions that you need to, do this freehand sculpting motion and take your time with it, but just keeping the blade elevated like that just a little bit to where it's not flat against the head will make sure that you're not punching in any hard lines or cutting out any bald spots. We don't need any more of those. We're just trying to recover from the ones that he already has. So keep that in mind as you try to continue practicing with this freehand motion, this clipper guard free cutting. So this is definitely something that is a bit out of our comfort zone, right? As a lot of barbers, because we use combs, we use guards, right? That's just the normal typical way to cut. Some of us will even use detachable blades, but this is something that I feel like takes a whole nother level of finesse. I would highly encourage every single one of you who's watching this video today to give it a shot and put yourself out there, man. You would be surprised at what you're capable of doing when you really put yourself to the test. Of course, I would definitely do it with somebody who you're a little more comfortable with, somebody who trusts you. Maybe one of those guys that you've been cutting since day one, that they've seen your growth and they've already been your test dummy. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's an after hours haircut. But have some fun with it, man. If you guys do post the challenge of you doing a freehand cut, put it together on YouTube. I would love to do a reaction to it, and so we can watch it together and just shout you guys out too. I think that would be pretty amazing, man. It's been a while since I did this freehand type of haircut, man. It's been years. Ever since I used to do it with the master blade when I had it on my Rebel my first Rebel years ago, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, I was pretty surprised to see the guy on TikTok. I don't even really know who he is, but he tagged me in a video, did a freehand fade with no guards. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then I just so happened to see that Jeezy was also talking about that on Instagram the other day, because that other dude, Professor Miracle Wrist, I think is his name, it's always trash talking and talking down on other barbers. So I mean, hey, you know what? This is definitely something that I felt like was overdue, me coming back out with one of these videos. So I will definitely support you guys if you decide to drop it on YouTube and tag me in it. We can definitely do some reaction videos. I think that would be super fun. I remember there was that one dude on Instagram. He was a Dominican barber. I think his name is Shape Cuts, man. It's been such a long time since I've seen his content, but I remember back in the day, bro, he used to be killing it with it. And I used to think that you could only do this kind of haircut with a master blade, because he would always do that, man. He would have the cleanest cuts. Now, granted, it was always the same kind of hair texture, like that real thick Hispanic hair, but then I saw that he started doing it with the wall blade too, and I was like, oh man, this is fire. Like, it's really just a matter of learning the techniques, having a plan going into it. I don't think this is should be the main way for you to cut hair, obviously, because you're cutting walk-ins and you're always taking new customers, always trying to grow your business. It's a little hard to do that when you don't know how somebody's hair is going to react, right? But it's definitely a fun skill to have, and the thing is too, remember, like, when we're shaping up afros, essentially that's what we're doing. We are freehanding hair, controlling the shape of it. The only difference in that and this is controlling the gradients from the skin to medium darkness to full darkness, and then continuing to sculpt into the roundness. So this could be a good exercise just to help strengthen that skill. So I was really happy with how the fade was coming out on the sides, and now it's a matter of picking up that shape and continuing it all the way throughout the top. Originally, his plan was to grow his hair out, to grow it out big and, keep like a low drop fade. And then the burn incident happened. So, you know, we had a conversation about this before it started. Actually, you know, one of my coworkers, actually, the high fade was his idea. My boy Tony, man, he walked up and he's like, man, what happened? I was explaining to him, you know, about the oils and how it caused the burn. And he was like, why don't you just do a high fade? You know, because we were going to keep on fighting and just doing this low fade, this low drop fade, trying to let all the rest of the hair grow out. But he's like, bro, just if there's nothing growing in those spots, just give him a high fade and, you know, shape up the top nice and tight so that way it can at least look like a complete haircut and not like a low fade with a, you know, the little drop fade with patches in it. So he actually made a pretty decent point. We had a conversation with my client about it, and he was totally down. He's like, yeah, I was wearing a high fade last year. Like, we can definitely go do that. Malik is definitely very chill like that. So very go with the flow. So yeah, we ended up trusting Tony's recommendation, and I think it came out way better than if we would have kept on doing this mid to low fade. But yeah, man, I think that was pretty cool. We just kept on doing this, shaping up. You know, I wanted to take care of the bulk with the clipper, and then I'll come back and refine it with the shears. The shears are some big boys, man. These are the 8-inch curved shear by Fresh Shears. Man, those things definitely come in handy when I'm shaping up fros, or when I'm shaping up even beards and cuts like this. But yeah, man, this haircut is starting to come to an end. Honestly, at this point now, I'm just continuing to go through and detail, right? I went through, initially I was cutting everything with my comb, but now we're going in with more of a fading brush, so that way we can just make sure that the hair is gonna look good, whether he's combing it, picking it, brushing it down on the sides, whatever he's gonna do at home to maintain the style. I wanna make sure that I go through all those motions to make sure that this haircut looks good in any setting. So we're continuing to touch up the blend, and you can see I'm doing that elevate where the heel of the blade is the only thing that's on the head, and we're just elevating it, man. And we are continuing to shape this up, give it a nice crispy look. I was super impressed personally with these Rebel combos. I already knew about the Rebel clipper from way back in the day, but I never got a chance to try the Rebel trimmer. Man, that thing hit straight out the box. You'll be able to see right here in a moment. Here we're doing a little bit of lineup work and prep while we're just wipe it down, trim it down a little bit, wipe it down really good with some high percentage alcohol. And we're gonna put these trimmers to the test while we wait for that skin to dry. So here we are coming in with those Rebel trimmers, and mind you, I didn't want to adjust these at all coming out of the box. I really like to give a trimmer a good fair chance how it comes out of the package, right? And these things didn't disappoint, man. They were able to mow all the way through that bulk. I think I even was able to use a little bit of the corner work to further improve the blend, but nah, man, this thing blasted right through the bulk of the hair. And with these same trimmers, they're powerful enough to knock through the bulk, but I also was able to give them a nice crispy lineup, because like I said, these things, they did come really well gapped out of the box, like micro gap, man. These things, they hit perfect. They didn't pull or bite or scratch or anything like that, so I'm definitely considering keeping these in the rotation. I really enjoyed using these. But you know, your typical lineup method, right? If you start in the very middle, but then you got to make sure that you step back as well, that you continue to observe and make sure that you put yourself eye level with the client to make sure that the hairline is coming out nice and level. So I'll make a cut, I'll step back. I'll make another cut, I'll step back. And after you go back and forth, making sure that everything is nice and even, follow up with a razor. Whether you wanna, if you wanna try the Tomb 45 triple cartridge razor, you can use that discount code for it. Lately, I've also been feeling this Filthy Blends, the Turkish razor, just a real slim one. Now, it could be a little more dangerous as far as like setting up the blade if you're not familiar with how to insert the blade, because there's no cartridge for it to sit on. So the Tomb 45 definitely is a safer, a more beginner-friendly, version of this. But thank you guys so much for sticking through this video. I want to know your thoughts down below, what you think about this. I'm going to put a couple clips right here showing the finished product. And man, it's tough because we run into situations like this where our clients, maybe they try something just to help improve their hair growth, their hair growth journey. But in this case, it ended up literally burning him. Like the not diluting those oils as much as he needed to literally ended up burning his scalp. And we did our best to help him work through that. And so let me know your thoughts down below, guys. I appreciate y'all watching this video. I'll catch y'all on the next one.